killing record numbers of Christians in Nigeria. And they have other countries very bad also. You know that part of the world very bad. They're killing the Christians and killing them in very large numbers. We're not going to allow that to happen.
Well, the American people have always stood for religious freedom, not only our own, but around the world. But what's happening in Nigeria is really a genocide, Rob. You described it very well, and I commended the president for making it clear to the government of Nigeria that will not tolerate the mass slaughter of Christians. 200 Christians were slaughtered in June of this year. Maybe 60,000 Christians have been murdered by Boko Haram and other terrorist organizations in the northern part of Nigeria since 2009. Our administration listed Nigeria as a country of particular concern. For some reason, the Biden administration changed that status. I greatly welcome President Trump's decision to restore that status and also make it very clear that we'll not tolerate the wholesale murder of Christians without the appropriate American response.
As we both have adhered ourselves to what's going on against Christians around the world, particularly in one place, and people have heard me say this, where there is persecution and execution of Christians, and that is Nigeria. Now the United States and Nigeria are moving forward on a new security agreement. In fact, just this past weekend, gunmen killed 3 people and kidnapped 11 others, including a Catholic priest. That comes as more than 160 kidnapped Christians were freed last week, so that's a movement. However, many others were killed. President Trump warned last November that U.S. aid would be cut if Nigeria failed to protect the people there.
No administration in modern history has done more to confront the plight of persecuted Christians around the world than we have. With us, it's a mission. A lot of anti-Christian bias, and you see it going in foreign countries. I mentioned Nigeria. There are others. We're hitting them very hard. My administration is confronting head-on the militant and really intolerant campaign that tried to drive religious believers out of public life.
A Nigeria-based human rights organization says more than 7,000 Christians were killed in Nigeria just last year alone. And by the way, those numbers don't go all the way until the end of the year. So they are higher. And as that information becomes available, we will report it to you. You add that to the 125,000 killed since 2009. Congressman, you recently went to Nigeria to learn more about the violence firsthand. I know you briefed the president on this. You turned in a report after that. But now you have said, and I want to quote you, that in the past few weeks, we have seen one of the most horrifically bloody days in recent history. Why do you say that?
Well, right now, the folks that I am talking to on the ground have described what's happening in the Middle Belt in the north of Nigeria right now in the last 10 days as a bloodbath. Potentially as many as 300 have been killed throughout that region of Nigeria. We've had this priest who has been kidnapped as well with 10 of his parishioners. 3 of them were killed in one of the states of Nigeria where we had about 150 people killed. And I will point out, a lot of those were Muslims, actually, that were refusing to submit to Sharia law and were trying to follow the Constitution of Nigeria. They were killed, but amongst those were also Christians, and they were burned inside of a church. They set it on fire. So it's just wanton death and murder and destruction that continues. But working with the administration, we are making steps in the right direction to address this persecution. The president is very singularly focused on addressing this. We now have special forces in Nigeria in a non-combative manner. They're there assisting the Nigerians. We have just signed a security cooperation roadmap with the Nigerian government and their military to continue to work on this. And we have also conditioned their security assistance in the last state foreign operations bill and appropriations that was just signed into law by President Trump.
Yeah, this is a lot of movement. You were talking about that one area, and residents told Reuters the attackers that hit their village were jihadists. In fact, these Islamic radical jihadists are what are being pointed to. You and I have talked about them before. They had been preaching inside their village, urging the locals to abandon Nigeria's state and their religion, Christianity, and adopt Sharia rule. When the villagers refused, the militants opened fire on them. So you're right, it's not just the people who are already Christians, it's those who might be open to helping Christians at this point. And I know that Nigeria's president, Tinubu, has said that they've deployed an army battalion to some of these areas. Are we making enough difference to where he's going to take some real action now?
Yes, but one of those actions that he needs to take, and he has said, he stated this publicly just when he was prior to being president, was in the Senate, or governor rather, is that he wanted to see a federalized police force, which is absolutely something that has to happen. Each state has to have the ability to secure their own people. Right now, you just have the police force in Abuja. It's a national police force. We need to arm the different police forces of the states throughout Nigeria to be able to protect the Christians that are being martyred throughout this country and provide security in a country that is facing massive insecurity challenges because of this centralized control right now that's been taking place.
Well, look, Congressman Moore, I know you've been all over this. Religious freedom is something that we stand for in this country, and when we see light being covered by darkness, we want to help. Thank you for all that you're doing, and thank you for the latest on all of this.
Thank you. God bless you.
So the United States deploys 200 more troops to support Nigeria's fight against terrorism. The United States' decision to deploy an additional 200 troops to train Nigerian forces signals growing international concern over the persistent threat posed by Islamic State militants and other terrorist groups in Nigeria. This move highlights both the strategic importance of Nigeria in West Africa and the urgent need to strengthen counter-terrorism capacity amid ongoing insecurity. For me, on the positive side, the deployment could significantly improve Nigeria's military effectiveness. U.S. forces are expected to provide advanced training, intelligence gathering, tactical operations, counter-insurgency strategies, and modern warfare techniques. This knowledge transfer may help Nigeria troops become more efficient, reduce casualties, and improve their ability to protect vulnerable communities. However, the development also raises important questions. While foreign military support can boost short-term operational strength, it does not replace the need for Nigeria to build long-term self-reliance in defense, intelligence, and internal security. Sustainable victory against terrorism requires not only military action, but also political stability, economic development, border control, anti-corruption reforms, and addressing the root causes of radicalization, such as poverty, unemployment, and social marginalization. Additionally, the presence of foreign troops can be a sensitive issue, touching on national sovereignty and public trust. For this partnership to succeed, for me, transparency, accountability, and respect for Nigeria's autonomy must remain priorities. Ultimately, this deployment should be seen as a support mechanism, not as a solution, or not a solution on its own. The real test will be whether Nigeria can leverage this assistance to build a stronger, more independent, and more effective security architecture capable of defeating terrorism in the long run. It's a welcome development for all of us Nigerians, but how far can this support go? Will it help Nigeria to defeat terrorism? Where we see that the military is complicit, they are members of Boko Haram, in the Nigerian armed forces. We saw what happened in Kwara State, how that the village head, notified the people of one terrorist group that said they are coming to preach the message of jihad, preach the message of genocide, preach the message of murder, and the village head reported the incident, reported the case to either the police or the army, I don't know, but the thing got leaked to these terrorists, and they became angry. They came and operated without being challenged. They operated without any confrontation. The record, some are saying 160, some say 170. In fact, I love watching News Central report because News Central went there on ground. No other, even I didn't see Channels TV on ground there. I didn't see other TV channels. News Central went there and got first-hand information from the people, the residents of that locality, and their story is a harrowing one. They say these people came, they tie people, they massacre them, they do this, and so according to the report from this Riley Moore, U.S. congressman, he said the intelligence report he received is such that for the Christians in that locality in Kwara State, where these jihadists came for their damnable preaching, they burned some of them in churches. So that's what we are talking about. Why should we trust the military? Why should we trust the police? The village here reported to them, said these people are coming. They are terror groups. They don't mean well for the community. And the information got leaked to these terror groups, and they came and carried out one of the deadliest massacre and we have experienced in the history of Nigeria. So we welcome the US troops, but my problem is if US want to do anything, they should just go ahead and strike. Complying or working with Nigerian military or police doesn't work, because some of them in this Nigerian police and Nigerian military are members of Boko Haram, members of these terror groups. So they are giving them information for them to escape. They are leaking some of the information to them. So if Donald Trump should really want to help the country, he should just be ordering his troops to strike from there. And that's the only solution, because if you want to collaborate with Nigerian military or Nigerian police or whatever, Air Force, it won't work, because they have the members of Boko Haram, is it ISWAP, bandits, whichever name they want to, they are going with now. They have their members in hierarchical positions in the Nigerian Armed Force. So no need of collaborating with them. Just get the information and strike them. That's what Nigerians need. That's the help that we need. And that's what we believe could curb insecurity in this country. Apart from that, working with this Nigerian military and Nigerian police, I don't think it's going to achieve the desired result.